Welcome back to Das Wagen Garage. Today's episode, we're actually going to be doing some painting. But before we get to painting the cage, particularly just the cage, I need to cut out the back half so I can get that out of peace of mind and kind of just go ahead and get started with some of the future work. Cutting out this back panel, I could actually probably remake this panel out of something like fiberglass, or I don't know, some sort of plastic, whatever the case may be, remake it so that I can use it again and make it removable in order for me to access things like the transmission, the fuel cell itself, any lines, the support beams, support arms for the transmission, the axles from above, a little bit, things like that. So the important thing is cutting out the spare tire well that's right here. That's going to benefit in order for me to fit in the fuel cell for what I can make to put in here by regulations. So I actually might be able to cut out a few more things, but that's going to be later down the road decisions. However, let me just go ahead and get started and cutting out some things. So before I get painting, let's go ahead and get cutting. Before I actually get to cutting the top portion, I need to actually figure out where the beams are. Now, you can see that, there's the beam that comes all the way out here. This supported the rear bumper, same thing over here, but visually you don't see how far over this is. So underneath, it's a little bit easier to kind of gauge that, and then just kind of cut all of this out and cut the tub out. So get started with it, especially around where the exhaust used to be. Okay, I have noticed that it is getting a little bit smoky, so I'm having to quickly pause on my cuts, but not in a bad way, just simply because what's smoking is the undercarriage paint, or like erosion, how would you call this? What they call it in German. Just the undercarriage paint. It's like this matte that was painted on to help resist any road debris and corrosion of the metal. So, and the metal is already zinc plated anyways, or zinc coated anyways. So they just layered on weather resistant matting on top of it. So that's just what's smoking. So I'm having to take a little breaks here and there. Now, while I've already go ahead and started cutting a lot of things, it's never too late to mention that fire safety is always important. I do want to stress that sincerely. I've been part of different courses. I can weld, not to quality. I just have welded before, and I know I'm capable of welding more. But that doesn't mean that no matter what I work on or what I do doesn't involve any bit of fire safety. So the grinder is hot. It will be hot. And fortunately, I'm wearing gloves while I'm cutting all of this stuff. The smoke, I've got my garage that's right up there, or that outlet that's right there. Yeah, that's hazardous. To be honest, I really shouldn't be cutting here in this garage, but it's what I've got. If anything, I just rolled a car out and cut it out there. But again, I'm working with what I have. So the important thing is to make sure that you're on top of your fire safety no matter what you are working on. That drill, that wood screw that you're drilling into and making that fence, I can guarantee you just enough friction can cause a fire. So I'm going to make that mention, and hopefully YouTube will end up still giving me money for this video if it goes places or plenty of views. But that is always going to be important, fire safety. Just want to say. Respectfully, ladies and gentlemen, even if you've been doing this for years, you already know this, but I already take precaution of this anyways. Out of my years of experience of using a grinder and working with hot metal and all of that, if your blade starts to look like it's fraying, now this is supposed to be for steel cutting, stainless steel, but if it starts to look frayed like this, stop. It's about to explode. That's the unfortunate thing about these. Now, those who are professionals or who do this all the time might tell you otherwise, or tell you, yeah, never get these types of blades. But even if you do happen to stop and you see this, stop. Just fair warning. They can break, crack, and explode on you. So, fair warning. And just like that, the full back end has been cut out. Now I have room to put in the transmission. I can put in fuel cell. I can modify or adjust this or create the supports for the transmission, the axles. I have freedom now. All this has been cut out. The additional part too is I can actually recreate that panel and likely just use it as a cover piece. So whenever I need to work on the transmission, I can just couple of bolts, undo it, work on transmission, fuel cell, whatever the case is. So I've opened up some workspace for me, but the structural is still here. So that's not changed, that's not modified, and that's not gonna go away. So this is good progress. So the next thing is actually just gonna be cleaning up some of this cuts and then get started with painting the cage. So let's get to that. Well, that was actually a lot of cutting, but it was plenty beneficial because now I have full access to the transmission, the fuel cell, in order to put that in, and I can just simply remake that panel and cover all of that. So I will get to that at another point, but that's been cut out, and I did say I was going to get to some painting. So I'm going to get started with that, and I'm going to start off with painting some of the tight spaces that you can't normally paint, just to get primer started. So let's get started with that. Well, that's it. That's the paint primer onto the cage. That was only one singular layer, and I can tell that I might need to get an additional can to cover up some spots that I missed. This primer does go on smooth as it looks, and it is a little thick, which actually would help with when I do paint the cage the color, or paint the entire interior the color that I'm going to paint it. With that said, I think I just need to paint a few spots because I see plenty, I'm looking around, some spots of bare metal and just lighter shades of primer. So just a little bit of touch up painting on it, but that's actually pretty good. So once I get this finished up, the next step would be, well, I got to work on the suspension, but I will paint the entire interior. That's the next thing.
8 weeks later.
How am I going to say this? Surprise! The entire thing is already painted. And if there's one thing that I'm pretty good at, is just doing things. So I grabbed a few of my buddy's spray can, which is sitting over there, canister, spray gun, and his compressor, 2 other buddies, and pretty much we got it finished in one whole weekend, with the exception of a few touch-ups that I've been doing since then. But all those touch-ups are done, unless if there's a few bits that I'm just really annoyed about. But It has been painted. It's done. Yes. Very nice. Very nice. So, like I said, the suspension is what I have to do next. The inside is painted. And with the inside fully being painted, cage and all, that means we're absolutely moving forward. I don't have to worry about anything on the interior. All of it's, we're in very good progress. So I just want to point this out, and I thank you very much to my buddies Josh, Charles, and Ron, who came by and helped me out with painting this, as well as my friend Nobel with a little bit of some cutting that we're doing. So he helped me out with some stuff. And, well, he helped me out with some cutting, and he helped me out with dropping the suspension. But I do want to thank my friends, Nobel, Ron, Charles, Josh. So thank you guys, whenever you guys see this. But the cage is painted, the entire interior is painted, we are good to go. We're on to the next thing. So I will be working on the rear suspension, changing the bushings. And if you have been watching up to this point, I do want to thank you very, very much for staying along with my progress. As delayed as it might be, or as slow as my content comes out, it's still content, and I'm still documenting and putting it together. So we're all a bit of having fun. But ta-da! I'll see you guys next time on the next video for Dustwagen Garage, where we actually work on rebuilding the rear suspension. Thank you guys. I'll see you next time.